So how do you like your F1 racing? Do you like it hard? Do you like these guys to go all balls to the wall? Or are you finessed? Do you hate a cheeky wheel bang? Are you of the old school where if these guys wheel banged then that could cause them serious injury or harm? Or do you like to see the new stuff, hard racing, where these guys will look at the line and then step over it? Please see an Ayrton Senna, because your answer to that question will influence, of course, the lens through which you view the automotive pugilism that happened this weekend past at the Austrian Grand Prix. And indeed, it has divided the community, parted them like the Red Sea. One Johnny Herbert, who was a steward, of course, at the time, said that Lando Norris didn't need to move left. He did the right thing. Maximilian Verstappen was entirely to blame, for he was over the line. Martin Brundle too has concurred, saying that Maximilian Verstappen has to take all of the culpability. Indeed, potentially, he was a victim of circumstances, dealing with too many externalities, juggling too many acrimonious balls. Damon Hill too. He's condemned Max Verstappen, saying that he defends fiendishly, saying too that everyone knows if you're trying to pass Verstappen for the race lead, that he will try and bish you. Damon Hill's circumstance and broader context, though, is really important to understand. There is a reason, surely not, why he is saying this, because both his dad and his teammate in 1994 died under similar circumstances. I understand then why Damon is old school, doesn't like the wheel bashing. It's important to understand. Anthony Davidson too joins the Maximilian Verstappen naysayers and has condemned Maximilian Verstappen as near as makes no difference to death. What are we doing? Bang to rights? Guilty as charged, says Anthony Davidson in his analysis. His analysis, by the way, that McLaren have since retweeted, raising the stakes for this weekend's Silverstone Grand Prix. Lando Norris, the other half of this wheel banging partnership, he's also condemned Maximilian Verstappen, has he not? Saying, I did nothing wrong. If we're going to seek to mend this relationship, the onus therefore is not on me, said Lando. That's his bag. Max needs to talk to me. He needs to own his ball feathers. He needs to apologise to me. Otherwise, Lando says, I will have lost some respect for him. And that's all cool. That's fine. But Cambridge Kisby of Motorsport writes something different. And I tend to lean towards his point of view. Because honestly, I grew up in a time, in an era where F1 was not snowflake F1. Where collisions were frequent and where these guys weren't afraid to step over the line. Please see Ayrton Senna in 1989 and 1990. Please see Michael Schumacher in 1997 at Jerez, 1994 Adelaide. This is my subjectivity. This is how I view F1, the lens through which I ingest my automotive pugilism. And I say automotive pugilism, I use that term for a reason, because that's what I think it should be. So too does Cambridge Kisby of Motorsport, who says Maximilian Verstappen does not like to lose. No, he is incapable of losing. That's his fundamental constitution. No, that's wired into his DNA, his fabric. And I like that. I appreciate the way he's characterised Maximilian Verstappen. And nothing has changed. People are right in the way they've characterised Max's evolution. He cannot know, he will not cede, will not lose, will not take a step back. But I'm not sure we should look at that through the lens of negativity. I think we need more of that type of thing in the sport, do we not, as at July 2024. There is downside ramification to too much finesse, too much buttoned up, straight-laced nature, too much PR friendly. Everything looks the same. Is it not cookie cutter as at July 2024 in Formula One? Too much of anything is bad for your health, is it not? And I think Liberty Media, as it chooses to grow the sport, as it looks to expand its demographic into different age groups, different genders, I think Liberty Media wants to embrace this somewhat, because variety and difference are important. Here's what Cambridge Kingsbury writes: that Maximilian Verstappen last weekend at the Austrian Grand Prix, he could have defended less vigorously. When asked the question about managing his lead in the championship, surely, Max, you didn't need to do that. The gap between you and Lando, as at the start of the Austrian Grand Prix weekend, was 69 points. 69. You can play defence cleverly then, Max. You knew that the penalty was coming. GP had radioed and said that they were investigating it. The smart play then was surely to let Lando go by, manage the gap to make sure it doesn't exceed 5 seconds between lap 64 of the incident and the race end, surely. Surely, that was the smart play, the clever way to go. But you know what? Max does not have that mode in his playbook. He's balls to the wall each and every single time. He couldn't have let Lando past even if he wanted to. It's not in his fundamental constitution. Again, per the title of this article, Cambridge Kingsbury of Motorsport.com. This isn't a choice for Maximilian Verstappen. It's not will not, it's cannot lose. It's just not in his nature. Cambridge Kingsbury writes, it wouldn't ensure that Norris thinks twice about passing the Red Bull in any future battle. That fire still burns within Verstappen, and it has defined his Formula One career thus far, as per the examples below. Italy, 2018 versus Valtteri Bottas. Baku the same year versus Danny Rick. Belgium Grand Prix 2016 versus Kimi and Seb. Japan 2016 as versus Lewis. Leopards, some say, do not change their spots, and Maximilian Verstappen isn't any different. He leverages risk and fear as an additional defender. As borderline and brinksmanship as that is, I think it's genius. Listen, for the avoidance of doubt, what we don't need more of is snowflake F1. Not in my humble opinion. I've seen too much of that of late. That's not to say that I don't appreciate Lando Norris stepping up, growing from the embers like a phoenix and standing up to one Maximilian Verstappen. That's what we want, for Pete's sake. Finesse is old school. That's old hat, right? Can we not see these guys get gladiatorial battle? I heard Danny Rick talk about the first time when he got into a car and he felt like a gladiator. F1 drivers are this. They are the embodiment of this, surely. And Max Verstappen is the apex predator because of this will to win, this refusal to lose. Cambridge Kingsbury concludes thus, and I agree with this sentiment. This is an important one. Some would call that attitude stupid. Others would call it old school. Either way, for better or for worse, it seems that Max Verstappen will forever be the same racer, simply incapable of losing, no matter the cost. Listen, any which way you want to cut that, depending on how you view and ingest your Formula One, the premier motorsport formula in the world, that will influence how you opine on this. Maybe you like the finesse per Damon Hill. Maybe you will look at Gilles Villeneuve and René Arnoux back in 1979 and turn your nose up at it. F1, some say, shouldn't be wheel banging. It's a non-contact sport. But in stark contrast, there is a majority of the F1 populace that ingest this stuff. No, live for a cheeky wheel bang, live for a line step. And I conclude, therefore, the F1, but for Maximilian Verstappen's present, but for that hardline nature, that hardcore, that the willingness to see the line and step over it, risk and all be damned. For Lando, for Maximilian Verstappen's absence, F1 will be a far poorer place. Please see the way that Silverstone tickets have sold out this weekend on the back of what happened at the Austrian Grand Prix. Surely then, that is a case in point, proof positive that this indeed is an advantage for the sport. I'm buying, not selling it. It's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But I digress. No further questions, Your Honour.